St-Isidore Asphalte and Ready Mix Direction are proud to present you this video. This will guide you to a more secure workplace. Safety comes first in our enterprise. Welcome in our group. Good viewing.
Welcome to St-Isidore Asphalte Limited and St-Isidore Ready Mix Limited Security Program. Section 1 Safety Policy. St-Isidore Asphalte and St-Isidore Ready Mix, hereinafter named The Company, are committed to a safety program that protects its staff, its property, and the public from any potential accidents. The company and its employees will not manufacture any product nor supply services that could cause accidents, injuries, material damage, or provoke a fire or professional illnesses. There is no existing work so important that we do not need to take the necessary time in order to accomplish our work in a safe way. Each employee is responsible of his or her health and security and is required to observe rules, procedures, instructions, and practical directives concerning the proper execution of his or her work, his or her health, safety, and other co-workers' safety. The company will maintain a cooperative spirit with its employees concerning health and safety at work. Rules and procedures contained in this manual do not in any way replace the Occupational Health and Safety Act, but are considered as a complement. Each employee must conform and abide to the laws and directives in this manual. Employees have the fundamental right to work in a controlled and conceived environment, organized and maintained to eliminate any risk for their health and security. A sure workplace is a productive and enjoyable environment. Environmental policy. The company will ensure that all possible safeguards are taken to protect our environment and comply with Environment Acts and regulations. We will educate our employees on environmental issues that pertain to the work being carried out. We must all be respectful to the environment. All working sites must be clean. No products should be embedded in the ground. Garbage, papers, rags, or others must be left in garbage tins. Used oils are recuperated in closed containers and provided to the central garage and emptied in appropriate tanks. All oil or toxic product leaks must be reported to the foreman and immediately cleaned. No toxic products should be burned. For example, used oil filters. Only wood-derived products such as cardboard and paper are allowed to be burned with a valid permit depending on the season. Waterways. When excavation is needed near a waterway, said waterway must be protected against dust or mud dumping by appropriate means. Inspection policy. It is the company's objective to maintain safety inspection programs in order to control hazards in the workplace. Company facilities and job sites shall be included in the inspection program. Informal inspections shall be conducted by supervisors on an ongoing basis in their areas of responsibilities. Formal inspections shall be conducted by the manager or a designated person at each facility or job site on a daily or weekly basis. The frequency for inspection is daily for the leveling, weekly for the asphalt, and weekly for the crusher. Objectives. Take all responsible precautions in order to guarantee health and safety to all employees concerned in this present manual. Improve the general, physical, and mental health aspects of employees. Use the most recent and reliable information to update the Rules and Procedures Manual in order to offer adequate training to employees. Make sure that the installations, tools, equipment, machinery, and necessary materials are well maintained and have the minimum health and safety risks when they are used in the vendor's indicated way or according to the instructions of the vendor. Inform the employees of the possible danger hazards present in the workplace relatively to usage, handling, storage, elimination, and to the transportation of a tool, equipment, machinery, or a biological, chemical, or physical agent or device. Make sure that everyone concerned by this present manual obtain the information, the instructions, the training, and the necessary supervision to guarantee their health and safety. Supply and maintain in good condition the protection equipment required for the regulation and assure that everyone is using the regulations in their duties. Make sure that all employees collaborate with the security agent and Joint Health and Safety Committee. This includes anyone in charge of the application control of the laws and the regulations about occupational health and safety, other laws, regulations, or legislative measures of the Province of New Brunswick that concerns health and safety. Make sure that all contractors and any person who takes over are totally conforming themselves to the dispositions contained in this manual. Display policies where all employees have access to visualize. You are responsible of your security and the security of others in your workplace. Section 2. Assignment of responsibilities. All employees shall carry out their duties in accordance with the rules and procedures regarding health and safety and shall, in particular, carry out their work in a manner that will not create a hazard to their own safety and health or the safety and health of other employees. Signal any danger they are aware of to the foreman or, in his absence, to the site representative, to a member of the Joint Health and Safety Committee, or to a security agent. Wear or use the required protection gear. Verify all equipment before usage. Seek advice or collaborate with the foreman, the security agent, the site representative, or to the Joint Health and Safety Committee. Make sure that all security equipment in his machine or on the worksite are in good condition. If not, must be reported to the foreman. Collaborate to any person in charge of the application of the laws and regulations of occupational health and safety and other laws, rules, and legislative measures of the Province of New Brunswick concerning health and safety. Make sure they have obtained the necessary training for the assigned functions. Report any accident, injuries, and near miss to the foreman as soon as possible the same day before leaving work. Section 3. Safe work practices. Create a safe work environment by doing all the necessary maintenance before operating a piece of equipment or vehicle. For example, before going up to your vehicle, you need to check the oil, gasoline, brakes, tires, signal lights, mirrors, etc. Section 4. Procedures. Work procedure. The work procedure is done in stages. You must perform the tasks successively. For example, going up in the vehicle using the 3 points contact, fasten your seatbelt, start the vehicle, and so on. Employees should have access to safe work practices and work procedures at all times, revision of safe work practices and work procedures during toolbox meetings. Supervisors prepare and revise the safe work practices and work procedures with the employees. Section 5A. Safety rules. The use or possession of alcohol, illegal drugs, and firearms on the company's premises or any job site is strictly prohibited. Fighting, horseplay, practical jokes, or otherwise interfering with another worker is prohibited. Arriving at work or remaining at work while impaired is prohibited. The company will not tolerate any smoking in the company's vehicles nor in any building. The employees should not use compressed air to remove dust off their clothing or their bodies. Accidents occurred by the public are announced directly to the general manager. Theft, vandalism, or any other abuse or misuse of any kind of any property owned by the company is prohibited. All unsafe conditions or unsafe acts or conducts, including near-miss incidents, are to be immediately reported to your supervisor. All incidents that result in damage or injury are to be immediately reported to your supervisor. First aid treatment must promptly be obtained for any injury. All work must be conducted under your supervisor's direction and are to be in accordance with appropriate safe work practices and job procedures. Maintain your work area clean. Operate all vehicles and mobile equipment in accordance with site rules and road regulations. Running is not permitted except in an extreme emergency. Jumping from formwork or equipment is prohibited. Climbing along any piece of equipment, forklifts, hooks, or any other device for material duties being performed is prohibited. Clothing shall be appropriate to climatic conditions and to duties being performed. At all times, you must wear safety helmets, shirt, t-shirt or sweater, long pants, safety boots. When in traffic, you must wear a security vest, yellow or orange. Note: safety boots and helmets must be CSA approved. Personal protective equipment such as eye and face protection, hearing protectors, fall arresting systems, respiratory devices, and other specialized protective clothing provided by the employer shall be worn when required by the Occupational Health and Safety Act and as directed by the employer. Use of personal cell phone on construction site is strictly prohibited, except in case of an emergency. If a foreman asks permission from management, you can use it for work only, depending on the period granted. Every engine must be stopped when vehicles are parked or not in use. Earphones, iPods, MP3s, etc. will not be tolerated on construction sites. Rules for operating the company's vehicles. Only supervisors or foremen will be permitted to park any company vehicle on their personal premises. Any other employee must obtain the management's authorization. Any other employee who needs to drive any company vehicle for personal use must obtain the management's authorization. All company vehicles are to be parked in the St-Isidore plant's parking lot at the end of the season. Any violation will be dealt by management in a proper manner. Section 5B. Warnings. Every supervisor and/or person in charge in a workplace will make sure that everyone on the worksite complies with the Occupational Health and Safety Act. If a person is found not to respect the company's policy, rules, or those of the Occupational Health and Safety Act, for the first offense, a verbal warning will be given to the employee, including the security agent. For a second offense, a written warning will be given to the employee, including copy to the general management. For a third offense, a disciplinary interview will be given to the employee by the general management. For a fourth offense, the employee will be suspended and could possibly be fired. In the event of serious offenses, for example, one that may endanger lives, one that deliberately commits damages on the company's equipment, or one who operates a company's vehicle in a non-secure way with the result of causing an accident, the consequences will be more severe, with possible immediate dismissal. In the event of a physical altercation or any form of deliberate physical contact between individuals, will proceed to steps 3 and 4. Employees who have proceeded to steps 3 and 4 will have a permanent offense in their file. Section 5C. Occupational Health and Safety Act. The Occupational Health and Safety Act is not a manual to be learned by heart, but must be available for all employees at all times. Section 5D. Employees' Rights. Every employee has the right to know all that concerns them in relation to their security, and that the WHMIS signal signs should be accessible and updated at all times. Every employee has the right to participate in Joint Health and Safety Committee, Health and Security presentations, and toolbox meetings. The right to refuse. All employees in New Brunswick have the right to refuse work they believe may be dangerous to their health and safety or to that of others. How to exercise your right to refuse. Report the problem. The employee must immediately report the condition or situation of concern to their supervisor and remain in a safe place until the condition is addressed and resolved or until other tasks are determined. Supervisor's investigation. Your supervisor must investigate your refusal and take the following decisions. A risk is present. The supervisor resolves the condition or informs the employee what should be done. No risk is present. The supervisor explains the reasons and advises you to return to your tasks. The employee does not agree with the supervisor. If you do not agree with the supervisor's decision, communicate with a member of your committee or your representative on the worksite. Said committee or representative must investigate the refusal and take the following decisions. You were right. The committee recommends that the employer should resolve the condition. If the committee does not agree with your reasons, you will be advised to return to your duties. The employee does not agree with the committee or a representative. If you do not agree with the committee's decision, communicate with an agent. The agent will investigate your refusal. The agent will determine the following. If your health and safety was compromised while performing your duties, or if there was no valuable reason for your refusal to return to your duties. Duties assigned to another employee. In the case where an employee judges his work to be dangerous and refuses to perform his normal work duties, said duties may be assigned to another employee if said employee is informed of the following three things. Another employee has refused the requested tasks and duties, the reason of the employee's refusal, and his rights to himself refuse duties if he believes a risk is present. Section 6. Personal Protective Equipment Policy. Wearing personal protective equipment is required by the Occupational Health and Safety Act, where the employee is exposed to risks that may cause injuries to his head, eyes, ears, face, neck, feet, hands, on your skin, in your respiratory tracts, and any other body parts. All employees on our sites must wear a security hat and security boots approved by the CSA. Security glasses and working gloves must be worn when dangerous objects are being used, such as slings, drills, torches, etc. Ear protectors must be worn in excessive noise conditions. Wear a mask where dust is present. Avoid wearing jewelry such as rings, necklaces, etc. You must wear clothes that are convenient with the executed work. The employees working on motive machines or near must wear clothes that are well adjusted, especially the neck, wrists, and ankles that do not have pending ends, dangerous pockets, and with no bare skin showing. Section 7. Maintenance. The tools must be of good quality and appropriate for the tasks being performed, maintained in excellent working condition, maintained by qualified and authorized personnel, equipped with guards, non-skid grips, and any other safety mechanism when necessary. The employer must supply necessary training to all employees in order to ensure proper tool usage, keep records of tool maintenance, implement a tagging system in order to properly identify defective tools. The employee must use tools only for specific tasks for which they were conceived, inspect the tool before using, report any defective tool to the supervisor, use extension cords with sufficient capacity and equipped with a ground fault connection, be certain that when a tool is not in service, it is stored in a safe place away from traffic areas, floors, stairs, and all elevated places from which they could fall. Tagging system. When equipment breaks, you must identify the equipment with a tag system to notify other employees that the equipment is defective. For the safety of all, it is strictly forbidden to remove a tag. Only maintenance personnel are authorized to remove a tag after repair. It is important to make sure that all employees understand the functioning of the tag system in place. Section 8. Training. The company will provide related safety training for which employees shall participate that is necessary in order to minimize human losses and physical resources of the company. This training will include, but not be limited to, Practical Directives Manual, New Brunswick Occupational Health and Safety Act and Regulations, WHMIS, General First Aid, and practical training. The practical directives in the safety manual are revised annually, and a winter session is given to all employees by the security agent. This manual is also a basic reference to foremen during security meetings with employees. New Brunswick Occupational Health and Safety Act and Regulations is studied with employees in the winter with the security agent or a WorkSafe New Brunswick agent. Again, the foremen use these manuals as a reference during security meetings. A WHMIS course is given in the winter or summer if needed to each employee by the security agent or the WorkSafe New Brunswick agent. The first aid training is assured by a Red Cross representative during winter. Each first aid worker must have 6 hours of practice each year during the certificate validity. A certification is given every 3 years. This course is given to all foremen, superintendents, and employees who make a request. The traffic control persons are very important employees on a construction site. Each traffic controller will have to assist a 2-hour training before being hired. He or she must have their cards available if needed. The foremen are in charge of the practical training of their employees for some specific jobs by means of resource individuals from outside or with qualified employees inside the company. Videos are also available for some equipment. Toolbox meetings. Toolbox meetings are held on-site, are up to 15 minutes in duration, and involve talking about the risk assessment, safe work practices, work procedures, and personal protection equipment. Safety meetings. Minutes of safety meetings must be sent to WorkSafe New Brunswick. Section 9. Inspections. It is the company's objective to maintain a safety inspection program in order to control hazards in the workplace. Company facilities and job sites shall be included in the inspection program. Informal inspections shall be conducted by supervisors on an ongoing basis in their areas of responsibilities. Formal inspections shall be conducted by the manager or designated person at each facility or job site on a weekly basis. Informal inspections may be performed at all times. Section 10. Investigations. The company will proceed with an investigation if the following should occur, and you also need to follow these procedures. If we suffer corporal injuries or an illness related to work needing medical care from the exterior, or if we are absent from work over the date of the injury or illness. If there's a fire or an explosion. If the accident could have caused corporal injury, illness, or damages to the property. Employees' responsibilities. Employees should signal any incidents or near-miss accidents to their supervisors in conformity with general security rules. Section 11. Emergency policy. The risk of an incident or an accident cannot be totally eliminated. Therefore, the company will undertake the following steps in order to ensure the proper reaction to any situation. Provide initial emergency first aid training and refresher training to personnel. Ensure first aid trained personnel are known and well identified. Provide transportation to a medical facility for the injured. Provide training on fire extinguishers and initial firefighting. Provide communication in the form of cell phone or radios, and provide appropriate first aid kits and ensure that records are kept accordingly. Emergency plan. A site-specific emergency plan with the emergency numbers must be posted. First aid. There must be a person with a first aid course available on site at all times. Fire extinguishers must be available near inflammable products and components and near an ignition source. All employees must have a WMIS training. Section 12, Harassment Policy. As an employer, the company is engaged in assuring a workplace where all the employees are treated with respect and dignity. Harassment in a workplace is unacceptable, and everyone is forbidden to use their authority or power to harass a person. Harassment in the workplace consists of sexual and personal harassment, conduct, comments, gestures, or any sort of contact of sexual nature which could be perceived as a working condition, promotion, or others, for example, caresses and sexual aggression. Unhealthy work atmosphere. A workplace that creates a hostile and offending atmosphere and environment. For example, drawings, sexual insults, or jokes of racial or religious nature, or giving a name that hurts the person. Power abuse. Using a form of authority position to threaten the job or the financial security of someone, to decrease his or her output, or to hobble his or her career. For example, intimidation, threats, blackmail. Other forms of harassment. Harassment is not limited to sexual harassment, but also includes religious, age, physical appearance, salary harassment, etc. If you believe you are being harassed, tell the harasser that his or her behavior is unwelcome and tell him or her to stop. Give the harasser an opportunity to end the harassment. If the situation does not improve, keep a record of the moment, the place, and the harassment's nature and report to your supervisor. If the supervisor is unable to settle the situation, you must communicate with the general management. All incidents of this kind will be strictly confidential and will be managed seriously and accordingly with respect. We are now beginning the WMIS section, the Workplace Hazardous Material Info System, also known in French as SIM2, Système d'information des matières dangereuses utilisées au travail. WMIS was made law in New Brunswick in 1989. The system was developed by employers, unions, and governments. This system is based on the workers' right to know about hazardous materials which they may come in contact with in the workplace. The system uses 3 things to help workers identify and handle hazardous materials safely: labels, material safety data sheets, and worker education. Never forget that certain substances can cause illness, disease, or even death. Certain products on the worksite are exempt from WMIS, such as wood or tobacco. Explosives, food, herbicides, and atomic substances are covered by other legislation. Labels. WMIS labels are used to identify hazardous materials. They tell what the hazards are and explain the precautions that should be taken with the materials. There are 2 main types of WMIS labels: supplier labels, which are placed on the container by the manufacturer or distributor, and the workplace label, which is placed by the employer where needed on the job site. The labels placed on hazardous material containers by the supplier show the name of the product, what the hazards are, how to protect yourself from the hazards, hazard symbols, first aid measures, the name and the address of the supplier, and that more information is in the material safety data sheets. Your trainer will show you a supplier label and discuss it with you if needed. All supplier labels have a special border. Tell your employer if you see any hazardous material container that does not have a label on it, or if you can't read the label. Workplace labels. Workplace labels are provided by your employer. They show the name of the product, how to protect yourself from the hazards, and that more information is available in the material safety data sheets. When you take any hazardous material out of its original container and put it into another container, a workplace label must be attached to the new container. Workplace labels are also placed on containers used to store hazardous materials made at the workplace. The workplace label has no special border. If needed, a WMIS trainer will review the labels for the materials used at your workplace. He will also show you how any pipes, pumps, or vessels that contain hazardous materials are identified on the job site. This can be done by warning signs, tags, number or color codes, and piping drawings. Hazard symbols. WMIS uses 8 standard symbols to tell you what type of hazard the material may present. You might already know some of the symbols because they are similar to the ones used on some household products like cleaning fluid and paint thinners. The symbols are classed and used in the following way. Class A, compressed gas. For example, oxygen, acetylene, propane, and some aerosol spray cans. These products must be stored and handled very carefully. Puncturing or damaging the container or allowing the container to become hot could result in an explosion. Class B, flammable and combustible materials. Division 1, flammable gas, for example, methane or hydrogen. Division 2, flammable liquid, for example, paint thinners and cleaners. Division 3, combustible liquid is any liquid that can burn or explode. Division 4, flammable solids are solids that can catch fire from heat or friction. Division 5, flammable aerosols are sprays that can catch fire. Division 6, reactive flammable material is any material that can catch fire when mixed with air. Class C, oxidizing material. Material that gives off oxygen that could help some other material to burn. For example, bleach can cause flammable material to burn more quickly. Class D, poisonous and infectious material. Division 1, materials causing immediate and serious toxic effect. Division 2, material causing other toxic effects, like having long-term effects such as eye and skin irritants. Division 3, biohazard infectious material, such as live bacteria or virus. Class E, corrosive material. Material that causes burns through skin, eyes, or inhalation. Class F, dangerously reactive material. Material that can burn or explode if they are exposed to too much heat, shock, or mixed with other chemical products. If needed, a trainer will show you a poster that has each of the symbols on it. He will review this information with you and tell you why it is important for you to get to know what each symbol means. Material safety data sheets. The material safety data sheets are very important technical documents. There is a material safety data sheet for every hazardous material on the site. Every worker on site should know where the material safety data sheets are and know how to use them. The material safety data sheets are available at the offices of St-Isidore and Bathurst. There are 9 categories of information required on each material safety data sheet. Each category gives special information about the hazardous material. Not all material safety data sheets look the same, but they all have the same 9 information categories. Now we will see a typical material safety data sheet to find out what kind of information is covered by each section. If needed, a trainer will explain each section of the material safety data sheet in detail. Section 1. This section identifies the hazardous material by its name, product identification number, and what the product is mainly used for. Also, both the manufacturer and the supplier information is listed. Section 2. This section tells you about each hazardous ingredient in the product and the percent of each ingredient in the product. Also, it lists the technical details of each hazardous ingredient. Suppliers may request a confidential business information status for each ingredient. If the Federal Review Commission agrees, a number will be listed instead of an ingredient name. All other relevant information must still appear on the material safety data sheet. Section 3. This section lists the physical properties of the product. Included in this is whether the product is a solid, liquid, or gas in its normal state, what it looks and smells like, how fast it evaporates, its freezing and boiling points, and other more technical information about the product. Section 4. This section gives detailed information about whether the product burns or explodes and at what temperatures. It also lists the best way to extinguish the fire if the product is burning, how sensitive the product is to impact, such as bumping or dropping, and if the product can catch fire or explode from static electric sparks. Section 5. Reactivity data is information about the chemical properties of the product. This section identifies the product as being chemically stable or unstable and lists the substances that must not be mixed or put in contact with the product, which could cause the wrong kind of chemical reaction. Section 6. This section tells how the hazardous material gets into the body. It also tells you how short and long-term exposure to the material will affect your health. Section 7. This section lists the personal protective equipment that should be used when working with the hazardous material. It also tells you how the material should be stored, handled, shipped, and disposed of, and what to do to clean up the product if it leaks or spills. Section 8. This section identifies the correct procedure for immediately treating anyone who has been exposed to the hazardous material. You should know the first aid attendant on site and how to contact him or her during an emergency. You should also know where the first aid station is and where the emergency equipment is kept. Section 9. This section lists the name, address, and telephone number of the person, group, or department that prepared the material safety data sheet and the date it was prepared. Important note: the material safety data sheets are reviewed whenever new information becomes available and/or at least every 3 years. This concludes the St-Isidore Asphalte Limited and St-Isidore Ready Mix Limited Security Program. Thank you, and be careful.